Welcome, Tartarian hunters. I'm here with Autodidactic, the Australian legend who basically started on this consciousness 6-7 years ago, like way before the rest of us. Yeah. Anyway, we just started to talk. We just jump right in there about the Great Vow Reset. So just to give you context here, I am the founder of a charity, and we have just initiated, which is all about regenerative agriculture. It's nothing to do with Tartaria. So I thought, ... And within that, I have launched the What If department, which is bringing together creators, artists and writers who, based on the idea that I want to start telling a new story. So within that, I started to do a whole pile of research that with our loss of biodiversity and our loss of seed growing food, like we've gone from like 6,000 tomatoes down to like 60, and 4,000 different apples types down to like 6, and we've got a massive decline in our food growing seed and our biodiversity, insects, animals, our trees, our native, our flora and fauna. And with that loss, we have literally started losing our vocabulary. And then I was just saying to Cambell that with the loss of vocabulary, what that has resulted in is a decline in our creative faculties mentally. So it's actually, and I actually found this stat, Cambell, I haven't told you this yet, that in the last like 2 decades, we have declined 21%. Scientifically proven that there's been a 21% decline as a result in the nutritional decline in our food within our hippocampus. So the area of our brain that actually produces our creative thought process, so which enables our beautiful, gorgeous imaginations to function. So as we've depleted, and this would all be by design, as we have been depleting our nutritional levels in our food with all the poison that's like rained down on us, our imaginations have shrunk basically, which then would lead me to suggest like it's really amazing right now that we're here, amazingly able to imagine such insanely out there thought processes and what if questions of such things as Tartaria. So you're about to tell me something amazing. Go for it.
Yes, hello, thank you. I was just going to say, yeah, that in the 1300s, there was a thing called the Great Vowel Reset, where they literally changed the language, that they changed the sounds of the vowels. And there used to be, I believe it was 9 vowels, and now we're down to 5, which really aren't 5 either. When you sort of go a, they're very, very similar sounds. And another thing is like when we start school, we get taught different vowels, right? And then you get your grown-up vowels. It's like a, e, o, and then it becomes a, e, i, o.
Yeah.
So there's still really 10 vowels there, but it's all sort of hidden and diffused. But yeah, they've basically attacked our comprehension of language and to explain where we are.
Yeah.
And that's part of the whole creativity thing. And we were talking about how language, a lot of people have studied it, and basically it looks like all languages, they've come fully formed. Like there's no way they could have evolved starting at grunts and groans and then sort of gone through and turned into this complex language. It's just, it's like
it's
a big
impossible.
bang a bit, isn't it, really? Yeah.
And if we look at nature and how, like, so from where I'm coming from, the regenerative space, like all of our vocabulary derives itself in nature. Our adjectives, our verbs, our phrases like strong as an ox, for example, that sort of context for how we describe things and communicate through our history has its roots in nature. So as we destroy nature and lose words from nature, we get more and more simplified in how we can express complicated thought processes. We get dumber, basically.
Yeah, well, like you said, with the biodiversity, especially living in cities, right? When you're taken out of nature, there's no diversity, right? It's car, building, person, shop. You walk through the bush or the forest, jungle, and there's just in one view you can literally, there's thousands, probably tens of thousands of different things. And so that's why they needed a complex language to explain that, you know, and that's why, and so, yeah, as that gets ripped apart and we get ripped away from it, our ability to use that to explain what's around us obviously gets shrunken with it, because, you know, we're reduced, you know, because we're all the same energy.
Yeah.
You know, there's one energy down here and we're all fractals of the same thing, or whatever you want to call it, God, nature, creator. And so, yeah, as one thing depletes, we're all affected. You know, if the jungles are cut down and burnt, you know, it's not like we're not affected by it. Of course we're affected by it. Yep. So this is why this whole attack on everything, and it's an attack on nature, right?
Absolutely.
It's an attack on things that live.
Absolutely.
Right. And so if you reverse live, what do you get? Evil.
Yeah.
So that's what evil is. Evil is against nature, against things that live. So yeah, that's where we are. So yeah, we need to biodiverse a bit more.
Well, it's true, because like one of the key phrases that we work with regenerative agriculture is monoculture crops, which is like we grow one crop and we get rid of all the diversity around it. We plow up the land, so it's bare land, and then we plant one crop. And then you need a lot of pesticides, you need a lot of poisons to support that one crop growing, because you've killed everything else. And if you walk down the streets in the city, it's monoculture streets. It's just like a $2 shop, a news agency, a post office, a TAB, a Woolworths, a $2 shop, a news agent, a post office, a Woolworths. You know, it's a monoculture street. And like, if you look at us using terminologies, so if we take that 6,000 tomato seeds, each one of those seeds had a name. Each one of those varieties of tomatoes had a language, had a name. And we used to be able to talk about it to that sort of level of detail. Now, you know, we'd be lucky enough to know even a name beyond the generalized term tomato. Like, very few people would know anything more than just the word tomato, not the actual types of tomatoes. And like, that's a big chunk of our brains that no longer function, has gone into dormancy. And it's so interesting to compare this to this new surge of Tartarian consciousness, because suddenly I walk down the streets, I march down the streets of Melbourne, and I am looking at this thoroughly biodiverse realm where all these buildings have suddenly like popped up to my consciousness, like walking through a forest full of magnificent flowers that I've never fucking noticed. And each one of these buildings have offshoots of towers and spikes and balconies and gargoyles and all these amazing details that I've never noticed. And suddenly my marching through Melbourne City is the most beautiful, complex, amazing experience for me now to walk through these streets. Like, I feel like I'm walking, it's like the difference between an industrial farmer who has got corn growing, and then right beside it, a beautiful, like, regenerative permaculture farmer that's got multi-species seeds and butterflies and birds and sunflowers and legumes and all sorts of things entwining in this beautiful landscape. And that's what Tartaria has done for me on an environmental consciousness level.
Yeah, and it's a good point you make, that you can walk down the street in Melbourne, Australia, everyone, by the way, and, you know, be in Wonderland, and that someone else could be walking by and they're in hell. And it just shows that, you know, we really are the creators of our reality and where we want to be. But yeah, everything was more complex in the past. The buildings, look what we get now, we get squares.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the old ones, and, you know, in every building there's probably, you know, 3 or 4 what we would call, you know, building designs, you know, that's so they're complex. And with the foods, like you said, tomatoes, like, you know, we go tomato. Yeah. You know, if you said that to like a native person, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. That's a blah, blah, because, you know, they could sit down and have, you know, like if they all ate, you know, 5 people ate a different tomato, they could then have a discussion about the different flavors of those tomatoes. You know, we can't do that. Yeah. And apart from that, they're getting, you know, every tomato would have slightly different things in it. Yep. You know, different levels and different, you know, pectins and all this kind of stuff, which is, you know, information to your body, because you know, the whole food thing is, you know, we're taught that food is this energy, you know, how do I, like a chemical reaction, right? So we're taught, you know, you put something in and it's, you know, got a mass, so much energy, it gets broken down, we take that energy. That's not true. Clearly, I mean, you just go out and watch someone who eats a big meal and what, are they jumping around full of energy? I don't think so. But the thing is someone can eat a salad, right? Not much, and they can be jumping around full of energy. And because it's food is fractal.
Yeah.
You know, every food is fractal, and it all is related to our body. So a tomato is, you know, a good sized tomato is normally about the size of someone's heart. It's red, it's got 4 chambers.
Yep.
It's good for your heart.
Yep.
You know, carrots, you snap them in half, they look like an eye.
Walnuts,
Right?
look
Walnuts,
like
good for your brain, all this kind of stuff, you know, figs.
Yep.
So what's going on is they're like a fractal representation of a certain frequency, right? So just like your brain has a certain look, that shape is a frequency. And the walnut has that same look because it's the same frequency.
Yeah.
So when you eat walnuts, it you know, it's the same, it's good for your brain because it's the same, you know, it's the same, right? It's adding to it. And so it's all to do with fractal. I think of it like putting a key in a hole. You know, you have, you know, this sort of wall and it needs all these to be unlocked to its potential. It needs all these keys to go in and unlock them. And those keys are in fruits and vegetables. That's why someone can eat, you know, a salad and all these keys and they're like, jumping around, and someone can fill themselves with processed food and no doors are unlocked.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you process something, you literally take, again, the life out of it, right? That used to live, and you smash it up into little pieces and say, no, it's still the same stuff. You know, put bleach on your flour. No, it's still flour.
Oh,
but
it's so
not.
frustrating.
So and
I'm sorry.
So I was just going to say, even if people, you know, these all this dietary kind of stuff, you know, bars and stuff that's still processed.
Yeah.
You know, all these people are really doing is kind of starving themselves.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. It's not, they're not getting healthier. They're not giving their body what it needs. I'm not talking to the nature with, you know, it's supposed to be a conversation, right? And I suppose a good, you know, part of that is, you know, what's coming out the other end. You know, if it's
Isn't that ironic?
Offensive, then, you know, what's going in is probably a bit offensive, you know.
Isn't it ironic that you say it needs to be a conversation, and yet that all the words we need to have a conversation with nature have literally been systematically knocked over and removed? Like, you know, the word feetlings, it used to, like, what that word means was describing the animal footprints in the snow. Feetlings.
Oh, really?
And
That's
Dumbledore,
cool.
yeah, and Dumbledore is an actual real word for an English bumblebee. And like, I can tell you, one of the things I've charged my What If department with, which is my creative team now, my writers and my artists, is to go after the lost words. We are bringing back the lost words, and we are going to illustrate them. And every article that we put out under the What If department is going to include lost words. And I really have a feeling,
I love words.
yeah, I have a feeling that they would trigger in people's DNA consciousness, like a dormant chain of events. So, you know, we've started to throw away words like old realm and Tartaria, and starting to look at all this new vocabulary and narrative that comes out here. And that is triggering so much in our own personal development and ascension process, or whatever you want to call it, but it is a trigger at every single point. So I feel the same about lost words of nature. Yeah,
definitely. One person who's good with that is What the Flock TV, Paul. If you haven't come across him, he's got a video on the Great Vowel Reset and all this kind of stuff. Actually, I did one with him about vowels and lost words.
We'll put a link under this
video. We'll put links below,
yeah.
And there's another guy who Michelle Gibson interviewed, and I can't remember his name. Sorry if you're watching. Really, really intelligent guy. And he's same kind of thing. He's trying to invent, he's kind of trying to invent a new language, but it's based on trying to find and reveal the old language, because he's the same thing. he's like, there's, you know, we've lost our expression, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the link to that.
Yeah.
Watched that a few weeks ago. I need to watch it again, so I won't say anymore. But what was I going to say?
Well, can I ask you a question?
You go. Yeah, you go. Yeah.
I've recently read some information, and I've been pondering about this, which is that the original language, Tartarian language, and just footnote everyone, we only use the word Tartarian as a collective noun to explain this whole explosion of consciousness. It's like using the word tomato when there's 6,000 varieties of tomatoes to describe 6,000. So just mental note, Tartaria is that generic noun. Generic tomato noun. So, but like I read this article, and it was talking about their original language was runes, the rune. And then when this sort of whatever came and sort of like started either living beside and then eventually taking over from or destroying, whatever that opposing force was, they were using hieroglyphics. So that was the conversation that I was like tuning into, the runes being the original language, and then we've got the hieroglyphics coming in afterwards. So, and then I was thinking, okay, I'd like to talk to you about that now. But from that, I was wondering, okay, I'm looking at all these Tartarian buildings here in Melbourne, but I have not seen any connection to runes or hieroglyphs here in Melbourne at all.
They would have all been destroyed and covered up, because they're symbols, they're signs, they're, you know, magic, if you want to call it that. You know, they're energy. They represent things, and they, you know, create energy fields and all this kind of stuff. Like
sigils. They're
sigil. That's a good word. Yeah, exactly. So there's a book called it's actually pronounced Linda book, O-E-R-A, Linda book. And it's from, well, they found it, it was written in the 1300s, and they found it in the 1800s. And it's the history of basically the Nordic people back to Atlantis. It actually gives a date that Atlantis sank. And it says that they're the people. It was about 4,123 years ago, I believe. Could be wrong, but around there somewhere. So not the 8,000 that we're told from Plato, about half that time. But there's a big story, 6-spoke wheel, and it's called a Yule. And from that 6-spoke, you can get, you know, letters like C's and all these different letters when you break it up. And in that book, it talks about, they've written it that way, and so that it can't be changed, basically, so that generations down can still read the same that was written, you know, generations before us. And of course, we have the story of the Tower of Babel, right? They confounded our language. And then, you know, you talk about, you know, hieroglyphs and these different systems that come in, you know, that are much, much more complex. And it was only certain people that could really read them. Okay, so it wasn't information for everyone, like the Yule language was. So that was the first part of hiding language and bringing these complex symbols where they could basically give you the meaning. And another big thing that went along with that was like the deification and statues and all this kind of stuff, and worshiping dead dudes, really. Because it goes a lot into, that's what destroyed the original civilization, was these people coming in, you know, the whisperers doing all their stuff. But basically when great leaders in that died, they deify them and they build statues and get people worshiping the statues. And then, of course, they're worshiping things that are outside of them. And, you know, you extrapolate that, and you get people who think, you know, that God's outside them instead of inside them, and that you should, go to churches, and that somehow makes a difference because you're in a certain building, and that, you know, if you pray to this, you know, edifice, statue, and not this one, then you're good. You know, I mean, it's all, when you really think about it, it's just all mind control. You know, it's just all leading us away from from who we are.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, we're going around in circles, so we can't look. So I'd say definitely that the language thing has just, you know, has been an attack. Definitely. You know, if you can't explain, you know, where you came from and you know, where you are and your habitat and what's around you, then you have no connection.
Yeah.
You know, you are disconnected.
Yeah.
And ultimately you can't survive by yourself in that
Yeah.
habitat, which of course is what they want, right? Get everyone dependent on the state.
Absolutely. And you can see that replicated from the introduction of hieroglyphics. You can see it replicated in the expression of science, in the expression of maths, in the expression of the quantum world, in the expression basically of anything that is packaged as higher education. Like it becomes this like complex conceptual language, which to me just feels like hieroglyphics, just not as elegant, you know, like, but basically like no one can understand it. And if you, and you're basically taught this programmed idea that you can't understand it because you are not smart enough, you're not educated enough, you haven't gone and done all these math, that only very elite people can understand this stuff. So don't even try, just accept what the experts say. And you can see how that's really fucked us up as a self-knowing, self-secure and sovereign race.
Yeah. And more than that, I mean, that's definitely, and that's drummed into us from, you know, day one at school, right? No, you're wrong because you didn't repeat what I said to you.
Yep.
You know, go away, big red cross. But this is the thing. Oh God, what am I saying now? I'm thinking all these things. Sorry, what were you saying?
You've got multifunctional like lines of information flowing through at all times, man. You have literally...
Sorry, the hieroglyphics, maths. Yes. That's it. So like a perfect example is E equals MC squared, right? That's like a little sort of thing, and everyone knows that, but not many people know what it means. You know, some people may know where it comes from, the person that it's, you know, given to, Mr. Einstein. And some people may know that, you know, it's half the equation. They might be able to say it's energy, you know, times mass to the square root of light. Is that what it is? But then, you know, then less and less could explain what that means, what the result. So it's definitely the same as a hieroglyph is, you know, you could have a picture and to the common people, they read that as, you know, this is a temple, say, you know, but then to people more educated, they're like, oh, well, this is, you know, a Masonic temple, say. To other people, this is like, oh, this is where we do our rituals. You know, just, you know, that there's more, there can be more meaning ingrained into them. And so different levels. And like you said, that divides the split of, oh, well, you don't understand it because you're dumb. But what it also does, which is more nefarious, is you have all these people who want to be smart and they want to know. And so they start explaining and trying to work it out and start explaining, you know, what it means and what they end up doing is defending what these people at the top say, but can't prove. And so that becomes their proof.
Yep.
Right. All these people, and we know, you know, there's very, you know, good examples with space and some of those types of things.
Yep.
Is you just get these people and they fall and then once they do that, they look at themselves as an authority. They raise themselves above everyone else. Right. And so then you can't tell them they're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is what we see all the time, right? So it's not just that it you know, keeps everyone down, but it creates this other class and it creates division. And then at the same time, it negates the rulers, you know, the ones who are keeping the secret. They don't have to prove anything. Yeah. Because all these people running around are doing it for them. Yeah. That's their buffer zone.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's this so it's not, you know, they're not stupid, they're not creative, but they're not stupid. They got a plan. But I mean, the other thing is they've only got one plan. So, you know, once we bust it, like they're stuffed, you know, they can't come up with anything new.
It's so frustrating because at that, you know, and then you add onto it like the economic benefits. So like, you know, like you pick this line of thinking, you're going to get paid more for it. You're going to go up and then you're going to become an expert. You're going to like toe our line. And I can model that right back to a grassroots relationship with farmers. Like, you know, like farmers are towing the industrial chemical poisoning line. Like literally 80 to 90% of farmers in Australia are poisoning us. Like they are using poison on our food chain. And most people don't even realize how low the nutrition is. And like I'm gonna give you a stat here from my farming work, right? Like you can actually take 1 carrot from a supermarket like Woolworths and 1 from a community garden regenerative soil sort of environment where the soil's been healed, and test it for nutrition with this amazing thing called a bionutrient meter. And the difference in nutrient density is 20,000%. That means you'd have to eat 200 supermarket carrots to match the nutrient quality in that 1 carrot got from the community garden. And like, so we can go around all day, every day, like eating as many vegetables we like from the supermarkets, and which is basically everyone in the cities, because we're not sovereign, we don't grow food anymore. And we are getting nothing, no nutrients in us. Like our brain capacity has shrunk so small, like it's, so anyway, the point of that analogy, right, without me getting all like emotional about it, the point of that analogy is just that farmers are like the experts, you know, and the people who are actually creating the poison with the agenda to poison us are untouched. Like it's the farmers are now going to take the backlash. It's regenerative agriculture, like consciousness starts to really push up into everyone's thinking process. It'll be the farmers that get blamed, not the ones creating the poison with their agenda to poison the food chain. And that's just like that degree of separation is exactly mirrored here with our language and with our programming process. So the whole like argument with round earth and flat earth, that would never have happened if our ability to communicate hadn't been stripped away. That came about through lack of language. Like we couldn't even understand how to even express the basic science, and so we get caught up in all of this science no one understands, and we believe it's the truth. And the very like faculties we're given within our own eyes, we discredit and no longer take as truth. And it's the same with farmers. They can see they're putting like boxes of this stuff on the food that's got skeletons on with danger, poison, and they're pouring it onto the food that they're then selling for food to children and families. The disconnect is really like mind control. We're all mind control victims.
Yeah, definitely. And everything's being turned upside down, you say, because the farmers are the power. They're the ones who can go, well, we're not going to grow anything, and then everything falls down. You know, it's like the truckies
the truckies. What's going to happen with the truckies here in Australia? Oh, Cambell's frozen. Just update on the truckies, everyone. So we have got these rumors flying around that the truck drivers here in Australia are going to go on strike at the end of the month to basically protest against the mandatory vaccinations, the mandatory testing, the closing down of their truck stops and their access to showers and food along the journey. And if they did that, of course, that would bring the whole of Australia to a halt, and our food chain and distribution chain would be completely destroyed and everything would stop. The power of the truckies to bring the nation to its knees is so insanely amazing. Hi, I've just introduced Cambell again. Hello. I'm just talking about the truckies and how powerful it is for those truck drivers to make a move. If they step out of the program realm that they are not important and that they can't do anything, and they all sat together and stopped, like Australia would be completely at their mercy. And that is the power of an unprogramming process, isn't it? Like that is us being unprogrammed, the power of us. Scary for the government, man. You're on mute, by the way. And may I just say, while you unmute yourself, that all the truckies, if they do this, they're going to get all the girls. They're going to get all the girls.
There you go, boys. Go buy a truck. But yeah, perfect analogy. You know, for all of us, you know, if we're not valuing ourselves and seeing ourselves as the value we are and the power we are, then we just get trodden over. But when you look around and see that you are powerful, I mean, like, you know, the truckies can shut down the whole country.
Just like that.
And, you know, the farmers, if they wanted to, they could stop growing.
Yep.
You know, they could say, you know, we're not supplying you anymore. We're supplying the market down the road. But of course, you know, because the thing is, this is why it's such a parasitic system, is because all you need is the farmers,
Yes.
right? And they can drive to the market, or they can pay someone to drive to the market and sell their stuff twice a week. Everything on top of them is all BS. And that sucks 99% of the money out of the system, funnels it away. And in the end, the farmers end up with a bad deal and we end up with a worse deal. But because, you know, they do it so nefariously, they get in there slowly and they, you know, this is good for you. Oh, this will bring you more. Oh, this will bring you more of this. And then they get them into a place where, you know, the farmer realizes, yeah, exactly, they're stuck. They got all this debt. They can't stop. If they and they're into contracts now. Oh, well, and then while this has been going on, all the small, you know, distributors have been drying up or bought up and, you know, bought into the multinationals. And so, but this is the thing, in the end, the farmers are the power. They can all just say, look, everyone on top of us, F you all, we're not complying anymore. We're just going to drive down to the markets on the weekend. Anyone wants food, come and buy it.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
It, you know? Nothing on your face, nothing required. I mean, this is it. So we've got to stop, you know, thinking that we're not the power. This is everything they do is to depower us. It's like with the, you know, astrology. No, well, that's why there's so many lights everywhere. No one knows what the stars are because you can't see them. You know, it's like everyone says, oh, you go out to the country, oh, you should have seen the stars. Well, it's not that they were bright. It's just that that's how they normally are. You know, we just have so much light pollution around. And in the past, you know, astrology was, you know, if you were, you know, a educated, well-educated person, a thinker, pretty much astrology was the first thing you learned. Everything got based off astrology. Now no one can, you know, tell you what Venus is. Absolutely. You know, because in the past they said this is, you know, you can read everything off this and it's all energy. It's all moving like a certain way. And, you know, now we get what, you know, these stupid little bloody star sign readings in the paper or something with these silly people, you know, dressed up like bloody, you know, fortune tellers and stuff. And so, yeah, it's been relegated to this stupid thing. And the people that are even into it, you know, are relegated as loonies. And they kind of are, because what they're getting is nothing. It's just so removed from what astrology was.
Absolutely. But like, you know, I often think like I'm so pumped and excited about everything that's happening in this space here. But like, I think, you know, in a couple of years' time, I'm going to feel like now I was being an idiot. Like there's so much more for me to like comprehend and understand. And so much of that lack of comprehension is actually not about me not having the knowledge yet. I truly think it's actually about me not having expanded my imagination yet. Like, and that intuitive language that comes with my intuition, which is my imagination. And I really love Martin's channel, Flat Earth British, because he is so fucking good at like asking those what if questions. Like I haven't seen someone do it so beautifully. I mean, he's like, the last one I watched of his, and like, I'd love to talk to you about it, was, he was discussing the ships. The ships that all these star forts and all these citadels are basically marooned beach ships. And, you know, of course, I loved Monty Python growing up, and Time Bandits burnt into my brain because that one image, funnily enough, of the ship with the city on, I never forgot. I never forgot it. And I was a young kid when I saw that. And it like, as soon as he brought that up, it was like, fucking, of course, that's the one thing I remembered, that one image. It was so, like, everything about it what it did was it triggered my imagination, like hardcore. So now I'm starting to see, Cambell, that like in this Tartarian hunting process we're on, I am gauging my truth now on what literally triggers my imagination the most. So if I see something, or if I read something or hear something, and it brings my imagination into overdrive, and I'm an artist, so I'm good with this stuff. Like, but if it brings, then I feel like I've got it, something there. That's truth there. Oh, I've lost you again. You look like you had such a profound thing to say. Go. I lost you for a second then. Oh, you're on a bit of a lag.
Am I, oh God.
Okay.
Am I still here? Yeah, you got me?
You're here, but
Oh,
I
hello.
haven't heard anything you've just said. And you're paused on the video.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
There you go. Got ya. Got ya. We're back. Oh no. Anyway, just to speak while you're working that out. This is black oxygen that I'm drinking. Hi.
Yeah. Is that? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Black oxygen. Cool. I might just have to go pictureless.
This basically tastes like soil. It's like fruvic. It's all sorts of minerals and vitamins that you just basically get from the soil that we don't get anymore. It's really interesting stuff. I'll put a link into the description.
Yeah, cool. I was going to say before, but you reminded me again, is the whole speaking stuff and you know, the imagination and all this and you know, sparking new thoughts, you know, like independent thought. I used to be, a few years ago, I was really into like independent thought. What is independent thought? You know, because, you know, name an independent thought, right? You can pretty much trace every thought back to coming from someone else or somewhere else. But yeah, that's what Martin's really good at.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at, you know, because I do the Spiral Up channel as well. And, you know, I'm sort of thinking, you know, am I just talking? You know, what am I doing here? But then I sort of thought about it and I thought, a lot of this is, you know, we're not necessarily speaking to each other. We're speaking, well, we are, but what are we? Who are we, right? We're speaking to God, to the universe, to whatever you want to call it. So just, you know, just the act of speaking out loud affects the whole field. And the more we do it, the more goes into that field and the more it becomes an expression of that field.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just speaking, guys, like if you you know, if you're looking for something to do, just speaking your truth, you know, wherever, you know, just even if it's out loud, you know, in your bedroom, whatever, but just putting it that because it's a vibration, right? It's a frequency. So we're adding to that. So and obviously as well, thoughts, you know, imagination is the same thing. So when you have different thoughts, you're putting those into the ether, into the whatever, the Akashic records, you know, and that all becomes a part of this new earth that we're creating. You know, that's how it's going is.
Cambell, like, I mean, that's like such an ironic statement when I'm literally walking through Melbourne with my phone on, marching every single morning, and I am simply the only person without a mask on. Like 4 weeks now, I have not seen an unmasked person on the street. And like, so to literally talk about speaking out loud and speaking your truth. And I totally concur with that energetic. Absolutely, 1000%. That's what we have to do to like shift the vibrational harmonics and the cymatics and the sound frequency of this plane, which to me is the ascension process. And yet everyone's muzzled. It's just, it is the
can't speak their truth.
Yep. It's the craziest paradox.
Well, and it's also a reflection of, you know, the collective consciousness, you know, of what the world, and it's probably lagging a bit, you know, it's probably, you know, what the world was thinking a few months ago, I think, is what we're experiencing and seeing. And that's obviously, you know, compliance. What happened for the last 18 months? No one was speaking up. Everyone was saying, oh, okay, I do this, and just being told what to do. So that's and it's really, and this is what's happening with the whole, you know, Armageddon, lifting of the veil, is we're being shown stuff, and this is why it's clown world and everything is so weird and out there. Is you know, the reality is literally it's manifesting things faster, but just more intensely. So when it's trying to say, look, you need to speak up more, it's literally covering 80% of the world in masks. So have you got it yet? And this comes down to what you said before with how we can't jump. You know, we it's like an awakening, right? I mean, to me, it seems like a remembering, but oh, hang on. Oh, gosh. but it's like going upstairs, and you might be able to jump two or three every now and again, but you can't start at the bottom and jump to the top.
Yeah.
Because if you get to the top, you don't have all the information you need to understand what that means.
Yep.
Which is the whole autodidactic thing as well. It's like you can't make a decision on only 2 points of view. You're being told something. You need at least 3, but of course, at least as many as you can, because what that does is that gives you more reference points, right? And the more reference points you have, then the better conclusions and the more independent, individual conclusions you can come to. They're yours, right? And so that way,
biodiversity,
as that grows, exactly, and as you get more, you can see further, and then blah 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 blah.
Because diversity supports itself. Diversity supports itself. Like if you don't have that diversity, there is ailments that come, there's limitations, there's like pests, and there's like problems that come up that block the growing forward. So diversity is protection. It's like it allows that very dynamic environment to thrive in.
Well, imagine an army, right? Back in the day, in the days of the kings and knights that never existed.
Yeah.
But
by the way, just on that thought, I cannot imagine anyone being warriors today, walking down those streets. Like, I'm like, how the fuck were you warriors one of these? What has happened to you? Sorry, continue.
I know. Yeah, I know. Excuse me. Oh God. God, what was I saying?
Something great. You're about to say something great. We're talking about diversity in language.
No doubt.
And how it was protected.
The army. Yeah. So you're on the battlefield, right? And if you've got no diversity, right, all you've got is 100 men with spears, right? How good can you defend yourself against the oncoming army? You can't, right? Because you've only got one choice, or maybe two. It's run, stab, run. But then if you get diversity, if you've got archers and you've got swordsmen and you've got cavalry and you've got the spearmen, then when the enemy does something, you've got more options.
Yes.
And that's really what it comes down to, right? You can then dodge and weave. If they do this, you can do that, right? And of course, the more and more different ones you have, then the basically you get to a point where you're invincible, because you've always got 100 options there, right? Whatever they do, it doesn't matter, because you've got 100 options.
Yes, exactly.
And so this is what non-diversity is your options are taken away. And in nature as well, like, they're so genetically stripped of who the plants, of what they were, that when they get it, this is why we get diseases and whole crops go down.
Absolutely.
Because they can't defend themselves, because they haven't got any options left in their genetic code.
Absolutely. And that's one thing when language and life and nature and we get genetically modified, basically that means we're being stripped down to a monocultural experience. Like, all genetic modification is monoculture. Like, it's not about diversity, and it strips back all of that diverse protection and that diverse expansion and that diverse community. And like, we can see that in our politics, in our economic models, in our social models, in our education models. All of those models are stripped of all diversity. And like, with the Tartarian communication that's coming back up, it's so rich in a new language and so rich in new diversity for us, that I am certain that the people that are a part of this conscious shift of thought process, this narrative, are the new, like, super new smart people on this plane. They are the new storytellers, the new professors, the new experts, the new, literally, I feel like this community is gearing itself up with its diversity and its narrative and its new connection to language and sound frequencies and the expression of that to become leaders of the new earth. That's how I feel like it is taking place.
It feels like, this is not random, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
if you look at the last, definitely, post 2012, all the information that's come out, with the shape of the earth and history and all these different things. But Tartaria seems to be a topic that can tie pretty much everything together.
Yeah, definitely.
And kind of give it a basis and a platform, because
Yes.
we've been taught, oh, this is this amazing information, and it came from this tiny little place, over there on the earth. And this amazing information came from this little monastery up on a mountain over there. And this, but really everywhere, the information was everywhere.
Yeah.
Like the bits, the little monks up on the mountain, that's just that information that survived.
Yeah.
That's where it survived, where it didn't get wiped. That's the difference. And this is why they give us the narrative of, evolution. Oh no, that they just got smart at that and they just never shared it and all this. But in reality, it's the complete reverse.
Yeah.
Information was free. Information was taught. It was, to be wise and intelligent was, a good trait. Like I remember back in the 80s and even the 90s, kids, when I was a kid, they used to walk around and it was almost like being smart was uncool. I even remember seeing it on shows and stuff like sitcoms and that. They'd sort of promote the stupid kids as cool.
Absolutely.
And the smart kids as dumb.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yep. I used to hang out, my last 2 years of school was hang out in the library with all the nerds. Like we were all social outcasts, really. Like that's where I started reading Nostradamus, because I wasn't interested in shopping or bikinis or boys at that point. I was just interested in like, who are we? Why are we here? What the fuck's going on?
What's going on?
And who's this man who can see the future? How can you even see the future? How does that even make sense? Like, how does that work? So that was my last 2 years of school. That's how I survived, basically. Yeah. I guess we have to consider ourselves all as nerds, really. Hey, at the end of the day.
Well, I don't know. I was pretty rebellious, as well in my late sort of teens, I'm sure, as we all were. But yeah, it was weird. I always sort of gravitated more towards the nerds because they spoke about stuff and they were interesting. And,
absolutely.
And you could have good conversations, but for some reason, all the, cool kids and that always wanted me to talk to them. And I was pretty much the kid who was friends with everyone.
Yeah.
I could go and talk and hang out with the cool kids and then get bored and then go and talk to the nerds and that. And
Cambell. That's what we do. We just integrate into whatever's required or asked of us. That's what we do as starseeds. We're just like multi-functioning. I think so. Like cannabinoids.
It's something, because it's not definitely nothing. I never knew what it was because I went to 7 schools.
Yeah.
So I was the new kid 7 times, but never ever had a problem ever with friends or I was always popular almost straight away, and I just never knew why. And I was always the guy standing up to the bullies and pushing them around when they were picking on the nerds, and even doing that, then they all wanted to be my friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Because you've always had the thing with starseeds is no matter what we've gone through in our life, there is always an element of sovereignty within us. There's this element, and I don't even know if starseeds the right word anymore. I'm just using that again as a tomato term, like there is an element of sovereignty. And I know when I walk down those streets outside, and like I've had so much fun during lockdown. Like the whole city is my playground right now. Like no one's in it, no one's going out. I've been having the best fun having dates on Friday nights in the city where we can do anything we want because there's no one there. And it's just like, it's so much fun. And I'm having so much fun, but that's because inside of my core being, there is a sovereign entity who knows who they are and knows where I stand on all of these things. Like, and I don't attract the attention of bullying cops. I don't attract the attention of, I have no fear as I walk down these streets. Fear does not live in me. So I don't attract anything that would relate to that fear in me. So, and I think most starseeds are born that way. We've got
it's an energy thing, I think. That's all I can work out. Because I mean, that's, thing. People do, that's so when I like sort of try and work it out, people always say, oh, you've got nice energy. And I think it's something that everyone feels. We recognize others like us, but also everyone else recognizes.
Yep.
It was, when I was growing up, it was always this thing of, I was always, saying the wrong thing and like, what about asking the wrong questions?
Same.
But at the same time, and so I was, a bit crazy, but at the same time, when people had problems or something, they all came to me.
Yep. Same.
So there's this thing that they know, or they feel that we know something, or I don't know what it is, but
yep.
But with true. The whole, no one, harassing you, this is the thing is we don't have an aggressive energy. So people looking for a fight or someone to bite, they can feel that and they're like, oh, well, they're not going to bite. But then people looking for a fight, they're like, oh, hang on, they're standing pretty sure in their skin. I'm not sure, I want to go for someone lesser. So yeah, we do. We just tend to be able to walk through anything and not really attract attention, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
No one should be looking for bloody, people to fight and people to harass, and if everyone was just happy with it themselves. But again, it's a bit hard to be happy with your life when you're locked in a city and you can't grow your own food and you can't even type on a computer what you want and press send. It's
I mean, like the other thing I have to say is a characteristic that I've noticed with the starseed, whatever we are, just sovereign beings, is that we all have the weirdos. We all have a really healthy balance between our masculine and feminine. Like, I know the men that I relate to on this level, they have a very healthy balance for their feminine intuitive natures, and I know the females like myself have a very healthy balance with my masculine creator energy. So that those two coming together in harmonized semantics or harmonized frequency really does add to the strength of a character. And I definitely walk down the streets feeling like 5 feet taller than most people I walk past. Just being honest, that's how I feel.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can even see that in some people. Like, there's some people that aren't that big, but you think they're big.
Yeah.
You can meet them and talk to them, and then you get told, oh, they're only 5'5", and you're like, what? No, there's no way. It's because they got big energy, So, and that's who we are, right? We're not our body, we're our energy. But with the male female too, that's like you could relate it to the brain in the right and left hemispheres, and the creative and the and so the integration there, obviously when you integrate and you've got your right and left integrated properly, then you can see the world properly, plus you can make decisions, if you know what I mean. So as an artist, you could have concepts and come up with things, but then you could also use your left brain like you do and say, how can I apply this to business?
Absolutely.
And things like that. So you're integrated rather than just being business. Oh, just business, and not having the creative side, or being completely creative. And there's heaps of people. There's heaps of people on both sides, but the creatives who just sit there creating all day, but they can't pay their bills. So they might say they love their lives, but a couple of times a day they're like, oh, I'm a bit hungry.
Yep, absolutely.
But when you integrate, if they could go, this is my creative, and then use the left brain, and if they're balanced and integrated, then they could see how they could turn that into a business and how they could live. So this is, it's the same thing. It's integration.
Well, like, look at what they did to us. They once again, they monocultured, they monocropped the masculine and the feminine. They said, here is what it is to be masculine, here it is what it is to be feminine. I mean, I eke out when I see those images from the 40s and 50s of how women were meant to be and represented, and how men were, and that's still to this day that the case. I mean, it's so far removed from me now in my reality that I barely see representations of this anymore, but I know that is the vast majority still represented the same way. Monoculture genders, monoculture notions of masculine, feminine. That's just, once again, another programming tool that we have been born into. So Cambell, like, I have for the last 4 nights, just randomly on that intuitive topic, I have had dreams that there is an event coming. I've had these dreams
Yeah.
that I've woken up thinking I got this energetic that I feel like I need to do some prepping. Like, and I've carried that my whole life, but like, it's just suddenly over the last 4 nights, it's just come back to my mind and thought processing. Like, can you, anything to add to that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely felt an urge to suddenly get my bus ready.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a house on wheels, so that, you know, we can take off.
Yeah.
And the energy is just everywhere at the moment. It's up, it's down, it's sideways. I'm having really strange dreams.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely I actually said it, and I never say dates ever. Ever.
Yeah.
But I said a couple of months ago, I said there's something in September coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sort of said, I actually did say, I said the 17th. So, and every time I think about, why did I say that? And I think about it, it's still making sense to, well, it's feeling,
yeah,
you know, that will happen to me. So, but I'm not feeling, I'm really not, you know, I'm not feeling, you know, the fear. I'm not feeling that it's going to be a tidal wave that's going to kill half the people. I'm not feeling that, you know, it's going to be the scary apocalypse, you know, with the volcanoes and all this kind of stuff. And I think, you know, I think especially the stuff falling from the sky, I think a lot of that's just fairy tales, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so it's just fear porn. I think what's coming is, you know, I think what we're seeing with all this screaming and ringing everywhere, that's the parasite. It knows what's coming, and it's basically a cleansing.
Yeah.
I mean, just you know, just recently in the last probably 3 days, I've just noticed everyone is suddenly starting to say nah, and, you know, including the truckies and that, like, to say nah, this is enough, here's the line.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Australian truckies. It's, I've seen, you know, police in, well, there's police in Australia, or ex-police, there's police in Canada, America, and just recently. And they're all standing up with guns and stuff and going, yeah, no further. So something's coming, and it's, we're riding a wave, you know, like we are the wave.
Literally, yep.
If you know what I mean. Like this is happening in by energies, but the result of it is actual people are standing up and doing stuff. Like we're literally the wave, and so whatever's coming can't, you know, we know it can't be stopped. But I've never ever had a bad feeling ever. Never had an ominous. The only time that I've had any kind of, you know, bad kind of fiery kind of feeling is when I start, you know, if I watch a few videos of people, you know, talking, oh, it's all going to be doom and gloom. If I start thinking about it a bit, and I can see that's where fear comes from. But as soon as I hit there, I've trained myself to go, oh, hang on. And I just stop and go somewhere else because that's it. You know, that's the only time it happens is when you pay attention to the story. And, you know, everyone thinks, you know, everyone goes, yeah, of course the media's fake. Of course it's fake. Yeah. No, I'm just listening to what they're saying though. What? If it's fake, and it's like it's like they think, oh, bits of it are fake. They think that fake media means, oh, some bits are fake, or it's completely fake. Like the Kabul airport. Have you seen that video?
Yes.
With all the people, the Afghanis running through the airport, and it actually comes from a baseball game in the US 5 years ago or something.
It's so fake.
So it's completely fake, guys.
Yeah, completely.
You know, when we say fake, we don't mean, you know, oh, they're changing. It's a movie, guys. It's the same as a movie you go. It's the same as a sitcom you see. There's no difference. But the only difference is your perception of what it is, that there's some, and it's still this perception of, oh, they're smarter than us. They know more than us. No, they don't. Watch the news, flick through every channel. They will all say the same thing.
Absolutely.
All the same stories.
It's true. And I can say I literally had that experience. Yeah.
They're not reporters.
You're lagging.
They're repeaters.
What?
They just get a letter in the just get an email and they read it. That's it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, this is the problem. It's giving away our power to these, talking heads.
Yeah. Well, I can literally say, like, I went to the protests on Saturday here in Melbourne, which were amazing. We had about 15,000 people there. And obviously I got to shoot it all through the Tartarian lens, which I loved. Like, it was like Bastille, French Revolution days, like real reset, like excellent. But on the news that night, it was the same footage on every news station, including Sky News. And it was just at the tail end of the protest. So they basically were repeating the phrase, a couple of thousand people turned up. They showed the same footage of a few hundred people and just all this police violence. And all their footage was of like, the poor policeman got punched, or there's been 3 police casualties, and it just repeating. And like literally 15,000 people there, women, families, children, elderly, like music, like it was such a massive, amazing day. And the only violence happened at the front line, where the police actually shot all the protesters with rubber bullets and pepper spray. And now there's this huge civil law case going on here in Melbourne against the police, who actually like engage violence against the civilian population. And so the news just echoed this like story that a few hundred people turned up and they're all violent, and as a result the police had to take action to protect our health. And meanwhile there's these images of police with guns aimed at people with the headline "Protecting Your Health." Like, it's just so ludicrous. And yet, like, I'm like, honestly, like, you walk around and like everyone I know outside of our little realm just buys it.
Yeah.
But not to dwell on that.
It's just so weird, isn't it? Yeah, because they say what were they saying? 10,000 people a day are cancelling their vaccinations just in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe people are waking up fast, but it does seem to be everyone I know. When the masks are there, it seems to be everyone, but
it doesn't feel
maybe they're all just a projection. Maybe they're all just actors,
humans, that's what I say.
To make us think that everyone's doing it.
I mean, we're just literally walking around in a simulation where the vast majority of people are just like literal like simulations.
Well, this is the whole NPC. Yeah, the whole NPC argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe the event that I'm feeling, and I know a lot of my other like people within our community are having dreams now. Obviously their intuition's very strong, and they're all getting the sense that they've got to get ready for a quick exit. Not so much that like there's going to be some thing that causes death and dying. I don't see a catastrophe so much. I do get the sense that there's a quick exit involved though. Yeah, and that could literally be like us all getting like some very strong call to all like just spontaneously go to a location, or like there might be some like energy. Yeah, like energetic pull for all of us to like, you remember The Stand? Do you remember Stephen King's The Stand? Have you seen that? Where like,
no,
oh my God, you've got
movies.
Yes, but Cambell, like, I'm only just thinking about it now in relation to this. Like, so there was a virus that went through the population and killed all these people, and the ones that were left, the ones fighting for God and the light were all like given these like images to go to a certain location, and all the ones
maybe I have seen that
aligned with the dark went to Las Vegas, and then there was like a showdown between the light and dark. Like, imagine if that's
the final battle.
Yes. So imagine if we're gearing to that, and how amazing would that be for us? All the starseeds to be like drawn to the one space, probably like Ayers Rock or somewhere.
Get our Antiquitech armor and our weapons and start flying around.
That would be like the most amazing festival ever. I mean, I can totally see that we could all be called to Ayers Rock, for example, where we like all gather from all around Australia in our little caravans or whatever we've got. And there we stand waiting for our because one of the channels I listened to, she's psychic, and she was saying that in September, the ships were actually going to remove some of the starseeds because their lives were in danger. They were literally going to start taking them out of the game, like taking them out of and they'd just be gone. That process, which I guess you could call the quickening or the rapture or whatever, was going to begin in September.
That would Oh my gosh, can you hear my cat screaming?
Yeah, I've got one here too. We all have cats.
That would be to do, I would think, with genetic modification, right? If even if a star seed, who knows what happens if they get down and start, messing with your gene, which is your energetic expression. But who knows? I mean, there's definitely, you can say what you want, and people will, about, oh, this is all woo woo, but the truth is, we have all found each other, haven't we? How'd that happen? Like, seriously, how did that happen? And in not a very long time. And then everyone's now starting to make groups, and everyone's just been starting to do this. And when you look around at what's going on and what's happening and what's already been built and everything, you can see this is that there's a certain group of people that are ready. I mean, I definitely feel like I need, that's why I bought the bus.
Yeah.
Because that was what, a couple of years ago. It's, I feel and still feel the need to have an exit plan.
Yep.
And I've got boxes of seeds and all this kind of stuff and food and that I've been collecting. So I'm definitely feel that I need to be able to load up quickly and just take off if I need to.
Yeah.
So definitely. I think there's something that's, so that call, I mean, I'd never thought about a calling, if we all go to the same place. So I was, but this is the thing. I feel like the cities, it's always been the city. You need to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Like something's going to happen in the city.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's definitely a political thing that's happening in the city, isn't there? Like, that's definite. And I'm seeing that so powerfully right now here in the heart of, I mean, what the fuck am I doing here, Cambell? Like, seriously, like, I've got a farm and I've been prepping for this forever, and yet here I am in the middle of the heart of the beast. I was thinking
of you yesterday, thinking you must be spewing because your farm's so close to the border and everything that's going on with the border. You probably want to be up there.
Well, but yet I'm not, because I'm so enamored by, like, being able to walk around. And
it's like me with my my arm. For anyone who doesn't know, I drove my car straight into a tree about a year ago, and basically it's got nerve damage, and it's slowly coming back, but it stopped me being able to, because I've got all these options. And like I said, I've got a bus that could have been completely finished. I've got land I can go, and I could have been, building gardens, and I've got all these options, but I keep asking, why am I stuck here? Why are you keeping me in the city?
Yeah.
So there's some reason I think that I'm here, but at the same time, I definitely feel like I need to be able to get out,
We're here
easily.
We're here for a reason. We are absolutely here for a reason.
Maybe there's an event coming soon, and then we have to get out. Who knows?
That's how I feel. That were the dreams that I had. Like, that literally there is an event coming soon, and to me, the idea of it being a calling is beautiful, and like, again, that sparks my imagination. So I'm going to say that's probably the truer version of whatever it could be for me, because that's the most imaginative and innocent. And for us, like, the only ones who would hear that sort of call had done the work enough to have the words enough to express and understand and hear it enough. So I really feel like there's going to be something very exciting and very energizing for us coming up in that desire to move quickly out of here. I don't think it's going to come at like a war zone cost. Or an escape. It's something. It's going to be
getting more
nice.
It's like you say, energy, like some high energy thing, and then I don't know, confusion, and which would make sense, right? Because to the vast majority, anything out of the ordinary that happens is going to cause mass confusion. And so maybe we're like the catalysts that need to be here to start that, but then we need to get out while they're all going insane and like adjusting to their new reality.
Well, it makes sense because, like, I've noticed, like, literally the old realm is shut down right now and all imprisoned and muzzled. And I am like the complete opposite. I have more freedom of speech and more freedom of movement than ever, because I've not listened to it, and there's no one in my way. So exactly. Like, ultimately, we wouldn't be called, I don't think we're going to be called, this is why I think Ayers Rock is about, like, I think we're going to be called inland through all the borders that no one are paying any attention to. Like all the borders that are being patrolled are all to the cities and the external, the coastlines, right? I think we're going to the heart of our countries.
That's one thing when I think about it, I always see like dirt roads.
Yes.
You know, like having to take, like not being on the highway, basically.
Yeah.
That's what comes to me as far as, and I'm like, why is that? Am I avoiding checkpoints? What's going on? Why am I why am I on the freeway going down to, you know, to the southwest or something?
Absolutely. And like my whole reality in the farm was those dirt roads. I was just on the fringe of like where the bush meets the desert, and I was out in Lightning Ridge, and I've spent the last 12 years getting very accustomed to inland, rural, desert, bush Australia and its people, and like have no fear out there and know how to drive those roads. And like I feel that we will be driving ourselves inland, which to me would be a meeting point around that Ayers Rock space. And that, and there we're alone, aren't we? Like no one's patrolling those areas. Australia is so big, no one is there. The police are all everywhere else. Like we would literally have an inland festival and do some amazing work as our true calling, our moment to do the thing we're here to do would happen.
Definitely. And well, this is, and the weather patterns are changing. So who says that the interior is not going to green up?
Oh, it's definitely going to green up. Fuck yeah.
Did you see the protest in Darwin and the Aboriginal elders up there?
Oh, amazing.
Wasn't that cool? And that's another thing about the interior, is there's a lot more of that rule, and a lot more people will stand up and live by that than in the cities on the fringes.
Yep.
So yeah,
and
that's
my whole work is around greening the desert.
Oh God, this
like
is
my whole understanding is how to green the desert, and all it takes is to hold water, and all you have to do is heal the soil, and all you have to do is bring back diversity. Like
yeah. I mean, I was when I was like 20 or so, I was working out how to green the, trying to work out how to do it, and my plan was just pump all the sewage in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That would totally work.
Well, why is it going into the ocean? Just turn all the pipes and around, face them into the middle, and you know, Bob's your auntie. Like it's ridiculous. So
that would totally work, and put swales everywhere, so that it's moving with swales, and then your trees are planted in that space. Like
and you can just do like sort of filtered dump beds, like full of shells and stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
And then you plant them out, and it goes through, and you have your reed beds, and you can get that stuff so you can drink it if you want to.
Yep, absolutely. That's what I had at the farm.
Yeah, right. How bizarre, because Callum, my friend Callum's out there, and I haven't seen the pictures, but he's built a trailer full of hydroponic plants. Like it's basically like a garden for his food in this trailer.
Yep, it's brilliant.
Oh God, see, that could be something. Because this is the thing, I don't know, there's just been, I haven't been able to, like I said, I've got all these opportunities, but for some reason, they're not, you know, gelling properly in my head. There's something missing.
Yep.
You know, there's something.
Look, I mean, we definitely.
Cal, what are you doing to me?
No worry. Look, I really feel that like the links would be Indigenous. Like I posted something the other day, and it was saying that Australia is, and I'll read it exactly too. It was from one of the channels, but it was a really good quote from it. She actually got asked, you know, why is all this crazy shit happening in Australia right now, of all the places? And her answer was that because in Australia, I'll just find it. Can you give any update or information on what is happening in Australia? And her answer is, what's happening in Australia is the prototype for the agenda for the whole planet. Yeah. They chose Australia because so many 12-strand individuals reincarnated there from the native Indigenous peoples who were directly descendants from Lemuria. So,
okay, nice.
So, and like everyone I know who's working within my realm and is connected to this information have a real heart connection to the Indigenous, and the Indigenous working in this realm have a real heart connection to us. And there is a massive push on the heart of Uluru being the center for the whole like explosion of heart energy on the earth. That all happened in 21st of the 12th, 2020. There was this huge ceremonies around Uluru. And of course, it's the most, and apparently Trump shut down Pine Gap. So that all got cleaned out, and then no one's there anymore. So like, it's just like, and it's the most
so we've got an underground
space,
city ready for us too.
Basically, that really needs healing. And we've got a beautiful, like the desert's beautiful. Like the way it's been
I
pitched.
agree. Yeah. As long as you can, sort out your water for your food and drink.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of water there.
But,
you just
this is the thing. It is actually everywhere. You've just got to, like the old world, right? You just got to use it properly. You just got to funnel it in the right directions. Chuck it around a few interesting geometric shapes, and
it's true. Put some the right somatics on. Which could come down not to instruments anymore, but to words, to voice, to speech.
But also, like, this is the thing. All the star forts had the canals going around them.
Yeah.
Was that to because now people buy fractal water machines. Was that doing the same thing? And after that, it went out and watered the crops. Because if you water crops with fractal water, they grow like twice as fast.
Absolutely, I totally believe that. And and also if you look at
the whole system,
and let's look at what really Ayers Rock is. If we're now looking at melted down, melted cities and melted things, and what are rocks? What was Pine Gap? What was Ayers Rock? What was Uluru? What was the Olgas?
I had a bit of a look. The Olgas, yep, definitely. And interesting, they shut Ayers Rock down. What was it? 2 years ago, you can no longer climb on it. Why would they do that? All of a sudden, after hundreds of years?
Yep.
No, you can't climb on it.
Yep, can't climb on it.
They wore. You're wearing the rock down, guys. Look, it's only half the size. What are you doing? You can't climb on it anymore. That could be because they knew it was, going to start doing weird things and transmitting weird energies, and they didn't want people up there.
Look, if we take this concept that the earth really is flat and that all mountains and mountainous areas are actually melted down remains and ruins, and that anything sharded or like anything other than that are trees that have been cut or splintered, then our whole desert area in Australia, all around that area, there is so many canyons and so many crevices and so many amazing waterways that weave its ways around the desert in Australia, that you could easily now, through these eyes, find much evidence for vast civilizations out there.
It's so big. I mean, if you're bored, guys, get on Google Earth and just look at the center of Australia, and just the water tracks, all the rivers and all the dried up riverbeds and the water flow. It's just everywhere. But the thing is, like, that central area, in like the United States, they've got like 300 million people living in an area like that.
Yeah.
It's and not packed in. It's that big. It's so big, and there's no one there. There's nothing there.
Well, I know. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I mean, we don't even really know. They could, if we go far enough, there might be a big oasis in the middle of the rainforest. How would we know?
Yep, absolutely. And I have to say, like, where I was living, I was still in the bush area, so we weren't in the desert. And I did the maths on the population, and Melbourne, for example, every square kilometre, there's 447 people to every square kilometre. And where I was living, it was 1.1 person to every square kilometre. And I was still in the bush regional food growing area. So you go out into the Australian desert, and there'd be like one person every
100,000 or more.
So we have no fucking idea really what's out there. But I have got this feeling we are somehow relating to the desert of Australia. I don't know. I just get it. We are going there. I'm getting it. I'm getting it, Cambell. I think we're going there.
The red heart. Yeah, right. Gosh, you're making too much sense.
I mean, it's clear, isn't it? It's clear.
It is. It's just, and And, apart from the lie, like it may not even be like it is, but even if it is, it's just, we're told, oh, it's too harsh, but,
Yeah.
we have permaculture, we have all this tech to, if it's harsh, we can change it. You start growing trees and they attract rain.
Absolutely.
They're what bring the clouds in, Yeah, hello. And with size, didn't they say that you could get every single person in the world, put them in Australia, and they'd all have an acre of land each?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We could declare our own nation in the middle of Australia.
Yeah.
And actually greening it up and making it like a beautiful oasis. Like that's what my whole charity is about. We have got the skills to do all of this so simply, and it's not complicated. It is not complicated.
And even if you had to pay to start with for the land, you must be able to buy it for a couple of shells and a rock.
Yes,
it can't be worth much.
100 acres where my farm was is about 100 acres you get for 40 grand.
Wow, that's bloody
rural
good,
inland Australia is so cheap.
Wow, yeah, but imagine the desert.
Even cheaper.
100 acres for $20.
Yeah, basically. Not that cheap, but cheap enough. You definitely get 100 acres.
Literally a couple of thousand, because people, what are they going to do with it? It just sits there. If you offer them a couple of grand, they're like, oh yeah, didn't have it before, didn't really know the land was there, so whatever.
Yep, absolutely. And the techniques available to us to make.
Now I'm going to be looking at land all day. Oh, God.
Well, I would happily join you, Cambell, because to me, it's not just everything about it's clear, as in not clear as in now we know what to do, but as in the frequency is clear. The atmospheric interference is clear. There's no people out there. There's no technology out there. Well, not apparently. There's still a massively strong connection to our origins out there, and to you can't be out there without having your eyes connected to the micro and macro world. You become one with nature. You can't survive otherwise.
It's a very good point that, when you think about it, Australia really, I guess, as a landmass, is the most unaffected, or has the most unaffected land out of all the continents and countries.
We do.
So it has the least, the most natural energy left, and and the least amount of, parasitic infiltration, should we say? So that as well makes perfect sense for it to be the catalyst point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think we talk about our Indigenous being the oldest people on the planet. Look, I don't know if I believe that anymore, just on the grounds that I think the reset really fucked all that up. And they potentially might be, but they might also not be. They could be as old as we are. But certainly the land continent in the middle of Australia is old and untamed. And whatever happened there, whatever catastrophe happened that took out the civilization that was the heart of Australia, it hasn't really been tampered with much since. There really hasn't been
I think a lot of the relevant information has survived.
There's hieroglyphics
they
out
still
there.
have a connection.
Australia is full of
this is the thing, and because it is so big and vast, that there were tribes, up into last century, definitely, who still hadn't seen white people. So they still had their straight, connection all the way back, where even in places like, the North America, the US, and what happened with the Indians and stuff, there's, with the whole story and the slavery and what happened and blah, blah, blah. Basically, for one, they were easy to kill because, the people were everywhere where they were, and they were literally killing them to get them off the land. That's what happened. But with what happened with slavery and that their connection was already severed a bit, I think. So I think definitely the Aboriginals, as far as, I think, the whole race, I think, that's probably for another time. That's a massive topic.
Another massive topic.
But they're definitely got, I think you could definitely say they've got the oldest intact connection to the past, and to that knowledge, and to that being connected to nature and the land, and all, because that's what they talk about so much, isn't it? The connection to the land.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, right. Gee.
Well, look, I am going to leave it there, Campbell, because we've been having a
Gee.
really good chat there, and it's
How
so
long did
much
that go
to
for?
digest. And I just feel like it's like, I really would love to talk to you more about the whole reset, the Indigenous, it's definitely something I want to chew on further. But as far as like, we've covered valves, language, we've covered prepping, we've covered Australia. There's so much in this one little podcast right now.
Yes.
So look, it's been such a fucking pleasure to talk to you as always. I love our dialogues.
Thank you. Yes, and thanks everyone who's listening. And yes, yeah, I'll be back. We had a bit of a chat before this, and you might know I've actually got an autodidactic Facebook page, but I just don't have any time. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing a bit of a collaboration, and because Kel does have the time to be on Facebook, and so yeah, you'll probably be seeing a little bit more of me around. So
excellent. We gotta keep all the Aussies together on this one. We actually are on a soul journey together. I feel every nation has its consciousness moving and going through this Tartarian evolution, and I think we as a community are just going to get stronger and stronger. But I do feel like there is going to be a time we are called together as a whole to do something, and it will be my honor and pleasure, Campbell, to join our two worlds together, and just to make an even more amazing, bright group to play with.
Definitely.
So wonderful.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah. So guys, anyone that you know that sort of might be a bit lost, looking for some answers or looking for some, cool people on their level, invite them over.
Yeah.
Especially Australians, let's get everyone together and chat and work out where we're going to live in the dead heart.
Yes, because if that doesn't happen like soon enough, Campbell and I have also discussed about having a Tartarian Australian meetup fucking event, something. So like there's much co-collaboration that's gonna come forward.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, maybe even an online one. We'll see what we
Awesome,
but much better if we had to have a meetup, without the masks.
Oh yes, 1000%, with some music and some fun again. Definitely. Which, the whole of Australia is our playground right now. Like, everyone's too scared to go out but us.
I know. And the thing is, it could be like these festivals they have that they call medieval, where everyone dresses up in the cool clothes, but we know it's not medieval. Like, we could do it properly,
I would love that. That would be so much fun.
Definitely.
All right, buddy. I will say thank you so much, Campbell. I will put this online and put some information down. I'd love to get the links that you were talking about that original
language.
Yes, the podcast you've done, and the one about the Aurelinda book.
Oh yeah. I'll send you some stuff on that for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, because I think that's a fascinating topic to deep dive into. So my darling, thank you very much. You have the best evening, and I will speak to you very soon. And thank you everyone for tuning in to our very first podcast together officially on Melbourne Tartarian channel.
There you go. Yes, great. Thank you again, Kel. Have a great night, and thank you all. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy.